Emma was an artist who didn't believe in love until she painted the face of her dream man, a man she had never seen before. But when that exact man walked into her life, her world turned upside down. Was he real or just a beautiful lie born from her own loneliness? Emma Lewis wasn't the kind of woman who believed in fairy tales. At 29, she had learned enough about the real world to know that love wasn't like the movies. Men didn't chase after you in the rain. Nobody held boomboxes outside your window. Love to her was fleeting, a passing feeling like a beautiful dream that you forgot the moment you opened your eyes. And yet, every night, she dreamed of him. It started slowly. A flicker of a face. A half smile. The edge of a jawline. But as the months passed, the image became clearer. He had dark, soulful eyes, thick brows, a strong but gentle expression, and just above his right eyebrow, a tiny scar. Emma didn't know who he was. She had never seen him before, but she dreamed of him constantly, always standing at a lake, his back to her, until he slowly turned around. She would always wake up before he could speak. Emma lived in a quiet neighborhood in Seattle, Washington. Her days were simple. She painted in her attic studio, drank too much coffee, and rarely left her house except to pick up art supplies or meet her childhood friend Lily, who ran a small gallery downtown. "You need to get out more," Lily often told her. "There's a whole world beyond your brush." But Emma wasn't interested in dating apps or small talk with strangers. Her heart was tired. Too many failed relationships. Too many men who didn't see her, not really. Not the way she wanted to be seen. So instead, she painted. She painted him. The dream man. At first, it felt silly. But once her brush hit the canvas, her hands moved with a strange sense of certainty. As if she wasn't creating him, she was remembering him. Day after day, she poured her soul into the painting. His eyes, his lips, the scar, the quiet strength in his expression. She painted him in different moods, smiling, lost in thought, standing by that same lake from her dreams. There was something haunting and comforting in the process. It was as if her heart already knew him. One evening, Lily came over with wine and curiosity. "Okay, seriously," she said, sipping from a glass. "You've painted this guy like 100 times. Who is he?" Emma hesitated. "I don't know. I just see him. In my dreams." Lily raised a brow. "And you've never met him in real life?" Emma shook her head. "You're obsessed," Lily said, half joking. "I know," Emma replied softly. "But it feels like he's real. Like I'm supposed to find him. Or maybe he's supposed to find me." Lily looked at her for a long moment. "Then let's do something crazy. Let's hang one of the paintings in the gallery. Maybe he will find you." Emma laughed. "Don't be ridiculous. I'm serious. The next art show is this Saturday. People will be walking through from all over the city. You never know." Emma didn't believe it would make any difference. But something in her heart whispered, why not? Saturday night, the gallery. The art show buzzed with life. Music played softly as people wandered through the gallery, admiring brushstrokes and sipping wine. Emma stood awkwardly in a corner, watching people look at her work. And then, it happened. She didn't see him come in, but she felt it, a strange, sharp pull, like the air had shifted. Turning toward the center of the room, her heart skipped. He was standing in front of her painting. Him. Same hair. Same posture. Same scar. Emma's breath caught in her throat. Was she hallucinating? He tilted his head slightly, staring at the painting with an expression of stunned confusion. Then he looked around and locked eyes with her. Time slowed. He began walking toward her. "Hi," he said, voice deep and familiar, like a song you forgot you loved. Emma's legs felt weak. "Hi, I hope this doesn't sound weird," he said, "but that painting. It looks exactly like me." "I know," she whispered. He looked again at the canvas. "How is that possible?" Emma couldn't answer. Her mind spun. She wasn't sure if she was awake or dreaming. "I'm Lucas," he said gently. "Emma." He hesitated. "Have we met before?" She shook her head. "No, but I've seen you. In my dreams." Over and over again. Lucas looked at her like she'd said the one thing he'd been waiting to hear. "I have too." I've dreamed of you painting. I could never see your face, but I always felt calm, like I belonged there." Emma couldn't speak. Her heart was too full. The connection grows. They left the gallery and walked through the city, talking for hours. Lucas was a former photojournalist who had recently moved back to Seattle after years abroad. He was kind, thoughtful, and carried a quiet sadness in his eyes. "I've had this recurring dream for years," he said as they walked by the water. "A lake. Fog. I'm standing there, waiting for something. Or someone." Emma stopped. "That's my dream." They stared at each other, both shaken by the similarity. Was it coincidence? Fate? Something else? Over the next week, they spent almost every day together. Emma introduced him to her studio. Lucas helped her organize her paintings. They laughed, shared stories, and sat for hours in silence. Not awkward silence, but the peaceful kind where words weren't needed. They fit effortlessly, but the mystery between them remained. One night, Emma invited Lucas over for dinner. As he helped her set the table, his wallet slipped out of his jacket. A photo fell to the floor. Emma picked it up and froze. It was an old black and white photograph. A woman by a lake, holding a paintbrush. She looked exactly like Emma. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. Lucas paled. "It was in my grandmother's belongings. I found it after she passed. She told me nothing about it. I've kept it ever since." Emma's hands shook. "That's me," she said. "Or someone who looks exactly like me." They stared at each other, both rattled to their core. "What is happening?" Lucas murmured. Emma didn't know. But in that moment, one thing became clear. This wasn't just attraction. This was something deeper, something ancient. That night, as Emma lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, she felt the strange weight of truth pressing on her chest. Was it possible that souls could find each other again? Across lifetimes? She closed her eyes and saw the lake again. The fog. The man. But this time, he turned around fully and whispered something she had never heard before. "We found each other again." Her eyes flew open. She wasn't dreaming. He was real. But so was the mystery that came with him. Emma could barely sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, the woman in the photograph haunted her thoughts, a mirror image of herself, captured in black and white decades ago. Who was she? Why did Lucas have that photo? And why had they both seen the same dreams for years? Lucas stayed quiet the next morning as they sat at a nearby coffee shop. He kept turning the photo over in his hands. No date. No name. Just the faint outline of a lake in the background, the same lake from their dreams. "I've never shown this photo to anyone before," he said quietly. "It always felt private. But when I saw you were painting, something inside me clicked. Like I was meant to find you." Emma stirred her coffee slowly. "Do you think we knew each other? In a past life?" He looked up at her, and for a moment, she saw the weight of his confusion and longing. "I don't know what I believe anymore. But I've never felt this kind of connection with anyone before." Neither had Emma. Being near him felt like remembering a home she'd never been to. Familiar. Safe. Unfinished. The search begins. Determined to find answers, they began researching the origin of the photograph. Lucas recalled his grandmother mentioning a relative who was an artist during World War II, a woman named Margaret Dawson. Emma's heart skipped. Margaret. She had signed several of her practice sketches with the name MD, without even realizing why. Was it muscle memory from a life she didn't remember? They visited the Seattle History Archives and began digging. After days of searching through dusty records and microfilm, they found her. Margaret Dawson, born 1919, a painter, disappeared mysteriously in 1943. Her last known painting, titled The Soldier, it had never been recovered. A curator at the archives showed them a preserved article from 1944. It contained a blurry photograph of the painting's exhibition, and Emma gasped. The man in the painting looked exactly like Lucas. Scar and all. The past bleeds through. After that day, things changed. Lucas began experiencing vivid dreams, no longer just standing by the lake, but reliving moments. In one dream, he was in uniform, writing a letter. In another, he was kissing Margaret under a maple tree in autumn. One morning, he called Emma, voice trembling. "I saw her die," he whispered. "She was painting. And then there was a fire. I tried to get to her, but everything burned." Emma sat in stunned silence. "I could smell the smoke," he continued. "I felt her hand in mine, and she said, 'Promise me we'll find each other again.'" Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I think we kept that promise." Lucas's dreams began overlapping with waking life. He'd speak lines from the past, forget where he was, wake up in a panic. A doctor diagnosed him with a rare neurological condition, temporal memory dissonance, triggered by emotional trauma. In layman's terms, his brain was reliving a past that didn't belong to this lifetime. The mind can't handle two timelines, the doctor warned. If the dreams continue to intensify, it could lead to blackouts, even coma. Emma was devastated. "But it's not just dreams," she said. "It's our story." The doctor only shook his head. "Some stories are too heavy to carry twice." The final painting. Knowing their time might be limited, Emma poured herself into one last canvas. Every stroke was filled with emotion, her tears mixing with paint, her hands trembling with fear and love. She painted them together. Not in this lifetime, not in the past, but in an imagined forever. Hand in hand, standing by the lake, with the sun breaking through the fog. Lucas sat silently across from her, watching her work. Sometimes he'd whisper things she didn't understand, fragments of old letters, names of places long gone, dates that no longer mattered. But his eyes always stayed on her. "You were the only thing that felt real," he said one evening. Back then, and now. Emma placed the final brushstroke on the canvas. The moment the brush left the surface, Lucas staggered forward, collapsing into her arms. "Goodbye." And again, they rushed to the hospital. Machines beeped. Wires tangled around his body. But Lucas didn't wake up. For days, Emma sat beside him, holding his hand, whispering memories and prayers. On the fifth night, his eyes fluttered open. He turned to her with a faint smile. "We found each other again," he whispered, even if just for a moment. And then, he was gone. Emma broke. The pain of losing him was sharp and deep, like losing a part of her soul she'd only just found again. But she knew this wasn't the end. Love like theirs didn't die. It waited. 1 year later, Emma opened a new art gallery called Lifetime of Love. The first exhibit was dedicated to her final painting, the one of her and Lucas together by the lake. People came from all over to see it. They said it felt alive, like the figures in the painting were about to speak. Emma sat quietly in the back of the gallery, watching people cry, smile, and hold hands in front of the painting. Love moved people. It healed. She knew Lucas was there, not just in the brushstrokes, but in every heartbeat of her own. And every now and then, she still dreamed of the lake. Only now, when he turned around, he smiled and said, "I'm always with you." Sometimes, love isn't about how long it lasts. It's about how deeply it's felt. Emma and Lucas were proof that some souls are meant to find each other again and again, no matter how many lifetimes it takes. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Colourofstories for more emotional stories like this. Until next time, believe in the power of love and never stop dreaming.